Okay, so the next two are going to be a bit longer. The next one is just a great example of frame control. There's a lot of other things going on, but essentially this is the biggest thing is this is a girl that gives me lots and lots of shit tests. All right, so this is a girl that's giving like shit test after shit test after shit test, and the way I respond to them is what's going to turn it around and make her like me. A bit more of an uphill battle than I prefer. Hello. So that was me actually opening her like as she was walking through the club, and she basically like barely even turned or barely even acknowledged me. So I just dropped it, let her walk, and then I was like, I'll catch her later if I need to, because it was just a bad logistical opportunity. So here I walked through the club. I guess there is a little cut here, but then once I approach her the second time, that's uncut. So the second occurs about a minute and a half after the first. Excuse me, I hate to bother you. I have to go in a sec. I'm usually overwhelming, but I don't usually have quite that big an effect on a girl, whatever. You, like I said, I was about to bounce, but you have a very classy look, so if I didn't at least find out if you're as cool as you are stylish, I would be remiss in my duties as a man.
You're gonna bounce me?
I was gonna bounce myself.
Oh! So I'm like the last ditch effort of chances to...
I mean, there's lots of girls here, but not any that particularly tickle my fancy at the moment. But you looked interesting and intriguing.
Oh, thank you for that, but I'm actually not available.
For what, dear?
Wonderful.
So assumptive. What is your name? I'm Todd. I think we should take things slow and not be like defining the parameters of what we're available for just yet. I mean, I've only just met you.
Yeah, on the way out.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
If I was in that particular mood, I wouldn't be on the way out.
Oh, well,
You know what I mean?
Don't know. Yeah.
But what is your story? Because you do have an intriguing look. Part of me is like, this girl could be a cool badass. Part of me is like, this girl could be like the biggest I don't know, bad news that I've seen in quite some time. So.
Yeah, that could be either or for sure. I'm actually all good. My friends had a birthday, and so
you got invited.
No, I didn't get invited. We had the birthday together, and it so happened that we all left in different phases, and so I'm in the last phase, which is fine. So I'm about to catch a lift.
Fair enough.
What are you doing?
I was about to go eat.
Eat what?
There's a little diner around here that I go to late at night. It's not bad, like Izzy's Deli or whatever. It's pretty good,
Izzy's
actually.
Deli?
Yeah.
I know Izzy's Deli. It's delicious.
It's not bad. As late night food goes, I can't complain. So I was gonna go grab a bite. If you're hungry-ish and would like to join me, you can. Although I do want you to know that were we to grab a bite together, I don't want you to have like expectations, because I am a gentleman and a shy boy, and I need trust, comfort, and connection.
So if we ate together, that would be end all be all. Like we could then assume the next phase of whatever we're going to take.
There doesn't have to be a next phase. Put it this way: if I eat alone, I might be bored. If I eat with someone interesting, I would be entertained. If I eat with someone boring, I'd rather eat alone. So, but you seem entertaining, so.
Why don't we go have a bite at Izzy's then?
I'm okay with that. Shall we?
Yeah.
And away we go.
How do you come up with these phrases?
To do lights, which phrases? What are you talking about?
Just that whole thing.
So that's interesting. So when you say come up with these phrases, I'm not coming up with anything, because what I'm actually doing is I'm just speaking from my reality. Does that make sense? That is the truth. I've been on bad dates and they suck. Right? if I'm with a girl that I would hate to hang out with, I will have a shitty time. Right? And so I'm essentially just narrating the inner dialogue of a high value guy. Right? So a lot of this, how do you come up with that? Where did this come from? How did you say that? Yeah, I'm okay with words, right? I'm articulate, but for the most part, I have this inner dialogue of a guy that's abundant, knows girls like him, has a life that he really loves, and I just narrate it. I just say what's in my mind, but it's coming from the right frame, right?
I think it matters a lot that you put it eloquently. So it keeps.
I avoid red flags for sure, and I definitely set it up as a challenge for her. So that's the case, and that just comes back to those, when I talked about the pickup tactics that convey like push pulls, disqualifiers, whatever. Just have a lot of practice with those, so they're natural. It's like a basketball player. You ask him like, how'd you do that move at like the end of the game? He's like, well, I've been dribbling a basketball for 15 years, so it just kind of came to me.
Just wondering, is this like, how often does it go this smoothly, or is that just like, are these like the best ones, or is this like a normal thing?
How many of you guys thought that seemed smooth? I mean, not my effort, but like how the level of objections I got. Did that seem? You thought that wasn't a lot of objections, or was a lot of? Yeah. I felt like for me that's a lot of objections. Like that's more objections than I normally get, especially in a short period of time. Yeah. I mean, it went quickly, right? So basically what happened is in a normal set you might get a bunch of shit tests over a period of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour. I got them all in 3 minutes. Yeah, actually. But it doesn't make that big of a difference. One way or another, I feel like every girl is gonna give a certain amount of, there's a certain amount of challenge or resistance that every girl is kind of genetically obligated to give you before having sex with you. Like she has to test you because she can't sleep with everybody, right? So whenever it comes, I'm just like, okay, I expected this, right? This is all just part and parcel of like me demonstrating to her that I am what I say I am.
And my second question would be, what if you were trying not to speak and just to subjugate you? Would that be possible at all?
In some contexts, yes, some no. In a loud club, it's actually quite easy. In a place like this, it's very difficult because I also can't really escalate very much here. So I'm just taking away too many communication channels. On a dance floor where I can escalate, I could substitute the dialogue of speaking for the dialogue of escalation. Here, where it's more of a casual vibe and escalation would be like kind of socially awkward or not fitting, it's much harder to do the non-speaking thing. I mean, you can to an extent. And I did once pull from this club without speaking one time, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Like home without speaking, or do you something?
Honest answer on that one was that I was having one of the most fun nights of my life. And so I got her to like the exit of the club, and she was like telling me like, let's go. And I asked the bouncer if I could get back in because I'm just like having so much fun. I'm like, can I come back? He's like, no re-entry. I looked at her, looked at the bouncer, looked at her, I was like, and ran back in that particular case. Because I was with a really good friend of mine, I was having a really good time. And she was cute, but I've slept with hotter girls. So in that case, I didn't. As far as pulling girls all the way without talking to them, my experience is that at some point, unless you fully like just lie and say you're mute and like type her messages on your phone or something like that, at some point it's a violation of trust where like she wants you to at least be like genuine enough to like say a word to her in order to sleep with her, right? Because again, she wants the high value guy, but she wants the high value guy who like has some tiny level of commitment to her at least. So if she believes that you can speak to her and are just playing the game, she might want you to be a little genuine before sleeping with her. Okay, final one is actually the one that Kevin mentioned at the start, where he introduced he mentioned, I guess, brought the girl by me and introduced me a little bit. And the thing you need to know here, which it'll become apparent as you watch this, is that she had seen me flirting with another girl, I guess a week ago or 2 weeks ago or something like that. And this other girl had been very attractive and responding very well to me. And so that established a lot of value through social proof. And you'll see she's actually articulating it too, which is unusual. Because usually if they have these thoughts, they have them, but they don't articulate them. But she's actually like discussing it with me as well. So have a watch.
Wow, look at you. You're so good at this. I watched you last time. It's attractive.
I'm glad I'm attractive.
No, what you do is attractive.
Thank you. I wish I knew what you witnessed like last time. I'm very curious. I'm trying to remember like, when were you here? Was it?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but Friday or Saturday?
Friday.
I'm trying to think.
She was the brunette.
I'd have to like check my phone and figure out who that is. I don't know. I actually would have to check. I don't know.
I know, but it'll work better.
If I could find her now, that would be great.
Oh, you like both of the flavors?
What do you mean?
You like the male of the flavor and the female of the flavor?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to know who the fuck you saw me with on last Friday. I'm trying to remember who I was
It
talking to.
doesn't matter. Where is she?
I don't know. They probably went on an adventure. We should go join them.
Where are you taking me?
It's not far. Actually, it's not far. It's a couple blocks.
No.
Why?
We can't leave her.
I have a table here. I can get us back in. It's not a problem. We'll go out. We'll be right back in.
Why don't we just sneak in a bathroom?
I don't know if that works very well here.
No?
I mean, I'm down for that. I just don't know if there is one where we can actually get
You want a
proper
bath?
time. Where?
This one. There's no one watching it.
So that your cousin can call you and you can be back in 3 minutes or less.
You into your little crab.
Into my little crap.
Your little crab.
There you go, hang on. Grab this. Hey, you.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want you to penetrate me.
Okay.
That's all I want.
Do you want me to do it well? Because that's another ask.
Just want you to stick it in.
Okay, I can deal with that. Go on.
Where are you placing your cum, huh? Where are you placing your cum?
Right now, in the taxi.
You better bring me back here.
I will, I promise. It's also like a block, but yes. How you doing?
Hey there.
So that's basically the end is the camera walking down the hall while he's trying to catch up with us. But in any case, you can see like the strength of that social proof as an indicator, right? Now, obviously I did other things well, right? Knew how to escalate well, a lot of other things, a lot of confidence, etc. But you can see how strong that social proof is. Let's talk conceptually about how to adopt these traits, how to become that irresistible man. And really, there's two different ways that people go about it, and neither one is completely good. So one is like the fake it till you make it, adopt the techniques method, and the other is the like have it just purely come through your emotions, just get in a good state and it'll come out of you naturally method. So I'm gonna talk about both of them. So the problem with the natural method, it makes a lot of sense, right? You get in a good state, you act, confident and abundant, and then you get good feedback. That good social feedback leads to more confidence, more abundance, and it spirals upwards from there. And there is definitely some truth to that. There definitely is. However, the problem in game is it's not quite as simple as all that, right? And there's two major problems. One major problem is what I call leveling, and the idea of leveling is that there's things that work with a certain caliber of girl or in a certain like social sort of situation that don't work in a more advanced social situation with a higher caliber girl, okay? So for example, if I were, I'm trying to do a demo that I can actually get on the camera. If I were to sit next to this guy here, say I'm going to do an approach while he's sitting down, right? Now, if I were to do like, hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good.
Right? That approach it conveys certain good qualities, right? It conveys a certain amount of confidence, for sure, right? It conveys that I'm not scared of doing the approach, right? It conveys like maybe a good tone of voice, positive things like that, right? And so it's definitely indicating that I'm not like a low value guy. It's indicating I'm not, if you're to rate guys on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm not like a 4 or a 5. Like I'm above average, right? So maybe I'm like a 6, 7, maybe 7.5, something like that, right? However, if that was my friend, most of the time I wouldn't approach like that. I just go up and say, hey, what's up, right? So I'm treating this person differently than I would a friend in a try hard way, right? In a way that's investing more energy. Right? And so at the same time as it's indicating I'm not a 4 or 5 as a guy, it's also indicating I'm not a 10 because it's not technically socially calibrated, right? And so what'll happen is if you do this type of approach with a girl that's like about a 7, she'll love you for it. Because if you're a 7 and she's a 7.5, or like maybe a 6, right? If you're a 6 and she's a 7, she's a 6 and you're a 7, 7.5, she's probably gonna love you, right? In fact, she may even compliment you. She'll be like, oh, I love the way you came up and talked to me. It was so cool, right? Because it's an honest signal that you are at that level. Right? And that's exactly what she's looking for. She's looking for that guy that's just a little bit above her. However, you do that same thing on a girl who's a 9, you give an honest signal you're a 7.5, she's just gonna be like, sorry, I'm busy, right? Because you've given an honest signal you're beneath her in terms of social value, right? And so the funny thing is, if you learn game through these natural methods, like if it's pure natural without any theory or without any technique, the problem is that you're gonna run into these leveling scenarios where what worked for a while stops working, and you don't know why, you can't like undo it. In fact, you've gotten specific positive feedback on it, so you explicitly think that it's one of the things in your game that is working, when now it's become the thing holding you back, right? So it's very, very, very insidious, right? The other thing, I'll get to it, the other thing that makes the natural approach not completely work is the idea of like counterintuitive behaviors, right? And so here the idea is that there are times in game where doing one thing feels good, and even like feels good after the fact, but it's not the right thing to do. And doing another thing feels bad, but it is the right thing to do. Okay, so for example, say that you're learning game and you don't really know how to pull yet, right? But you're getting decent attraction, you want to take phone numbers. Taking the phone number and bouncing feels good, it feels like a success, and your brain is equating it as a good set, as something that went really well. Whereas when you start pushing to actually get the pull, you're going to get a lot of negatives, a lot of bad feedback. You're going to lose numbers that you could have gotten. You're going to take sets that felt like successes, and they're going to end up in failure, right? And so what's going to happen by the natural learning method that we use, the emotional learning method as human beings, we're training ourselves not to do the right behavior, because the right behavior feels bad and the wrong behavior feels good, right? And so if you're doing a pure natural approach without an emphasis on technique or without understanding and without a game plan, you're going to be capping your game in a lot of ways. Right? You're going to be holding yourself back from a lot of these either leveling behaviors will hold you back, or the places where game is not entirely intuitive will hold you back. Right? So those are the problems with the natural approach. So that would indicate going a more technical approach, right? And I advocate a more technical approach, but let me explain to you what's wrong with a purely technical approach. So there was this thing back in the day, it was called the 25 points. It was something that Tyler came up with. And basically what it was a list of the 25 behaviors that students did wrong that made them low value. So it was things like not taking enough space when they stand. Like if you're standing, so we get a camera, but standing right here like this, like standing like this is a very low value way to stand. It's like not taking up space, not being assertive. Whereas if you're standing like this, it's a lot better, right? Whereas on the other hand, if you're like standing like this, it's really try hard, right? And so stuff like that. Or things like when the girl talks to you, like snapping to attention too fast, which shows that you're too reactive. So a lot of those kind of things were in the 25 points. It's actually a really, really brilliant observation of the low value behaviors you can have, right? So when we first started teaching boot camps, or when I first started teaching boot camps, we actually started teaching the 25 points. So we'd sit a student down, we'd be like, here are the 25 things that you need to not do in set, right? And we'd explain it to them, we'd show them why. And what would happen is, they were nervous as is, and then they see this list of 25 things not to do, and they focus on it. And by getting nervous, they would then manifest all of the 25 things, because the 25 things fundamentally were a sign of nervousness. Okay? And so that's the problem with a purely technical approach, is that it disregards that emotional nature, and it disregards the fact that getting positive feedback is a part of learning game. All right? So by necessity, the way to learn game has to be both. Okay, the way that you learn game, the way that you implement all this stuff, it has to be some sort of inner game and giving yourself feedback and experience, and then some technical. Because if you lack the technical, you're going to level yourself, or you're going to succumb to that first like counterintuitive like milestone, right? If you're purely technical and no emotional and no positivity in it, you're going to really, really slow down your progression in game. And in fact, you might even be like, I don't like the term putting yourself in your head, but you might be like counteracting the things you're naturally doing well by trying to be too technical or trying to overthink. All right? So it's very, very important that you get good at both. And your weakest area between your inner game or your technique will tend to be your limiting factor. All right? So you want to work on the place where you're falling short. I'll take questions again because I'm have a little bit left. All right? Cool. All right, so last thing I want to kind of give to you guys. So that's a little bit on how to learn, and it's very important. I want you guys, even though it's like just one slide, I want you guys to like actually focus on this, because this is one of the things that's going to be the most important to you after you leave here. Because whenever I do a program, I care about you learning the material of the program. I care very much about that, but I care even more about you guys actually getting good, right? And so it's important that you know how to practice and how to take that material and implement it, right? So this is probably one of the most important slides, even though it may not seem like I spent a lot of time on it, right? I don't want to underestimate that importance. Final thing I want to give you is this idea of the life of a hot girl. Now, this is not every hot girl, by the way, okay? This is specifically, I'm telling you about, from my experience, the girls who make a living purely on their looks, okay? Because that's the extreme case of the hot girl. But the reason I point this out is that a lot of guys have this idea that, like, hot girls are higher value than them, or hot girls have this, like, They're like these unique, special alien creatures in the world that like can't be touched or tarnished. And I tend to put them on a pedestal. Whereas in reality, you probably live a much cooler much cooler life than the average hot girl. Okay? In a lot of ways. In some ways you don't. To be fair, in some ways you don't. But in a lot of ways you do live a much cooler life than them, and you might be surprised. Okay? So, first of all, I'll tell you that a lot of hot girls make fucking no money. Okay? Just so you know. Like to pay for until you get to a high level, to pay for hot girl jobs is not very much. Do you know what the most common hot girl job in the world is? Working retail. Right? That's like the most common hot girl job in the world. Let's be honest, right? And that does not pay well. Alright? But even things like modeling, you would think that modeling pays really well. Right? I was in Miami a few years ago. I pulled these two models, two under 21-year-old models from a club, because they can get into these clubs when they're under 21, because who the fuck cares? I basically went home with them to their house, but it was not their house. It was a house owned by, or like an apartment, a shitty apartment actually, owned by, or rented by this guy who was supplicating to them enough to give them the bedroom so he could sleep on like the couch bed in the living room. So I walked into their room, and it was like a twin bed. That's the small ones, right? Like a freaking twin bed that both of them were sharing, right? With just dirtiness and clothes and filth everywhere strewn about, like whatever. And I ended up sleeping with two models in the bed, meaning that I had one of them's foot in my face and the other one's like arm across it was the most uncomfortable night of my entire life. And it sounds real glamorous, it wasn't, okay? So, and the whole time, like, I wanted to actually do something with him, but the dude was, like, outside and, like, would hear anything. I was just, like, it's just too fucking weird. I couldn't do it. But so anyway, and these were, like, serious working models. Like, these were not, like, I aspire to be a model. These girls actually had real modeling gigs. And they were living at that level of financial lack, okay? Even girls I've dated who are successful in that world, they don't make enough to maintain their appearance, right? They're spending more money maintaining their appearance than they're making from modeling and acting gigs, even the fairly successful ones, right? Unless you get to like pretty high up, okay? So understand, first of all, these girls, if you think they have a rich, glamorous life, they oftentimes don't, unless they're being supported by a man in one way or another, oftentimes, right? Supported by boyfriend, sugar daddy, who knows what, okay? So don't get into this impression that like they have their life all handled and it's all together and that like they don't need you. Not remotely true. Okay, so here's the life of a hot girl from my experience, the ones I've known and dated. One, they're given the world at an early age, right? They're given presents, money, flown places, taken on adventures, taken on vacations from a very early age, which sounds amazing, right? It kind of is. Here's the problem with it. The problem with it is when you're provided so much money at an early age without having a skill set, there's a point in your life where whatever skill set you develop is worthless for making money, for improving your life compared to what you're already doing. And so the outgrowth is you don't develop a skill set. You don't develop any way to make your own money. So you become reliant on handouts, gifts, men taking care of you, et cetera, et cetera. And that's very scary. That's very scary because you're constantly hoping, waiting the next guy will come along, and you're hoping that A, he'll come along, A, he'll be good to you, B, he'll not be an asshole, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're in this weird kind of world where you're living in reaction, right? You're living at the need of someone else to take care of you. It feels very out of control, right? So they never learn to make money proactively. On top of that, they're being treated as commodities rather than people. So the high value guys they'd like to date have lots of options and just go through them, oftentimes, right? And then the guys that they can date, oftentimes are very boring to them, and they feel like they're just using them for money. They oftentimes feel like they're bad people because they feel like they're exploiting them, using them, that kind of stuff. Also, when they're working, right, going for jobs, have you guys ever heard the term cattle call? Basically, it means you go to like a modeling audition, and you are put, there's an extremely large room full of girls your exact same height, weight, hair color, eye color, body type, dressed in the same clothes as you, who look almost exactly the same on camera, filing through to get a couple photos taken to hopefully get a role. And you walk around and you're just like, I am so replaceable. Okay? So they truly are commoditized. And even the ones who do have jobs where they make a lot, like say like Vegas bottle girl or something like that, they're constantly reminded that there's a line of girls who want their job and they better do anything and everything to keep it. Okay? And that implies all the things you think it might. Next, terrified, absolutely terrified of aging. Because if your sole source of income is, or if your biggest source of income is getting provided for by your looks or by guys, every single year, your earning power is diminishing. And also every single year, the amount of money it takes to maintain your physique, or your body or your face, is increasing, right? And so it's this downward spiral. Finally, a lot of times with these girls, they're what I call chasing the dragon. Do you guys know what that is? It's like, that's a term for drugs, where like the first time you do a drug, like it feels the best it'll ever feel, ever, and then every single time you're hoping to get back to that first time, right? So in this case, what I mean is that a lot of these girls, when they're in their early 20s and have the world on offer, they turn down some amazing guys. Like some guys that would like just be the most insane, incredible guys in their lives. And then when they get to like around 30 and they want to settle down, now they're like, well, I can't settle down for this guy because he's so much worse than that guy I turned down. So they're just waiting for that one guy that will be better than the guy who was the best guy in their 20s, who's never coming again because fundamentally her value's going down too much. All right, so it's kind of sad in a way. And then, of course, they have to constantly invest their money, maintain their appearance, etc. Okay? So I don't say this to like depress you. I don't say this to like make you think that these girls aren't cool or amazing. A lot of them are really amazing people. A lot of them have potential to be great people in your life. And by the way, also, I'm not saying you have to date professionally hot girls, right? There are a lot of very attractive girls who have real jobs and that kind of stuff. But what I want to emphasize to you here is that beauty in and of itself does not make someone a superior person and does not make them have a superior life, okay? So all of you who are looking at like these hot girls and thinking, oh, I can't offer them anything, they already have everything they want, their world is so perfect, I want you to understand, you guys do have a lot to offer, right? As the guy who actually would be good to them, but also knows how to communicate to them emotionally and can offer that to them as well, you have a ton to offer to them. And I want you to understand that because so many of these attraction things, they have to do with your frame and your outlook. Right? So having the right frame and outlook and understanding what beauty is and what it isn't in terms of the girl's life, it's important. Okay? It's important you realize that.